Chapter 19 of the Yellow Sheet.
Playing with your toys again? Yes, Uncle? Thank you. But I really do not need any help. I jumped aboard just to ask for a ride. I hope you're going my way.
Always. Whatever you wish, Aiko. Just say the word. He stood back a step. Look at you. You're certainly in better shape than last I saw you.
True, but I can't say that what I've been through over the past day makes any more sense than has the past month. But there isn't time to get into all of that now, is there?
She quickly scanned the interior of the chopper, its contents and occupants. An unexpected quietude came over her. She was in the chopper, on the ground, with the familiar noises around her, the claustrophobic movements and colors and smells and attitudes and confusions, and it all felt transparent. She felt the gentle rhythm of her breathing, without thought, without attachment to it. Everything around her was mildly relaxing, and mildly funny and full. There was only her lungs filling with air, and the gentle movement of the air surprising her as once again coming out of her. And she rode her breath, for the first time rode it outward, into the belly of the chopper, onto the knees and elbows and shivering shoulders of each and all within the chopper's walls. She felt her body relax, and at the same time adjust itself more upright, each bone aligning itself perfectly to the next, without effort, without intent, open to everything around her. She could see, but she wasn't focused on what she was seeing. She could hear all of it, but she wasn't holding firm to the sound. Neither distracted nor mesmerized, she knew there was but one path worth taking, and it would not be in this tub. She spoke with a bluntness that surprised even herself.
This isn't the place I really want to be, ought to be. Too much testosterone. Oh, so too dense. Anyway, the feminine principle, as you well know, selects its own path to success. Spacious persistence. Come, Uncle, let's be somewhere else.
Yes, very much so. It is a bit tight here. Come with me, Aiko, to my private plane. No, this isn't the place for either of us. While the resources are in my hands, I'll be the one to change the scenery. Dogen made a brief conciliatory nod and added, with your approval, of course. Her only response was a smile. As they disembarked, Dogen instructed the commander to cut the engines and return the troops to their barracks. Take a week off, all of you. As he climbed through the door, he whispered under his breath, "If I ever need you again, but I doubt that very much." As his feet hit the tarmac, Aiko asked,
What did you just say, Uncle? I couldn't hear you properly.
Nothing.
So there's nothing between us, huh?
Just an old habit of mumbling under my breath, that's all.
And what makes a mumble?
In this case, Dogen responded sheepishly, not unlike a 14-year-old, I'm concluding that with you around, none of the old ways are going to make much sense or be of much help at all.
Yes, Uncle. Put your toys away.
Oh, Dogen said teasingly, approaching the stairs of his private jet. Powerful words from a woman who, a few days ago, couldn't choose between sake and pie. Gesturing her to walk ahead of him, they climbed the short set of steps up into the Bombardier Global 500. He stopped it a moment and looked up to her. Before you go in, I want you to know there's a surprise waiting for you.
You knew I wasn't going to fly in the chopper, didn't you?"
"Aiko?" he asked with false mockery, and then smiled.
"I know that I won't be disappointed."
They entered the plane, moving towards the center, to where two pairs of deep-cushioned seats faced one another, like a vast, luxuriant railroad car. Plush theater seats. Aiko crawled into one as if crawling into a cave. Dogen sat beside her, facing forward to the front of the plane. Suddenly a woman came from behind them, walked across to the seat in front of them, facing them, and she sat down, smiling.
"Ame! Auntie!"
Aiko leaped from her seat like a young girl to embrace her aunt. After more than a minute of cooing and preening, with choreographic grace, they separated and sat in their separate seats. All was perfect and right, and no one spoke. Dogen broke the silence. "You were so decisive in the chopper, Aiko. You were in and then out of it, so quickly. Very impressive." His hand reached out to her forearm and gave it a gentle squeeze.
"So many years wandering in indecision."
"Indecision? You were flooded with—"
"Éviter et de choisir."
"I understand. I was only saying that you have been overwhelmed. It was as if you were riding a wind-horse."
"Aiko appreciates, I am sure, your concern, dear."
Amy interrupted.
"Yet I am certain she has a particular purpose for saying what she did. I suspect it's a reference to Sartre, which is of particular importance to her, no?" "Exactement,"
Aiko responded softly, with a broad smile. Dogen beamed with amusement. "If that is the case, then you will have no problem telling me where you want this tub to take us. This choice is fully yours."
"I want to return to Flathead Lake. Now, I must complete what we started a month ago. Go to the very cliff it all hung from, before the lunacy started, before we became something altogether different." "Would that be the right thing to do?"
Amy asked. "In deference to your aunt's wisdom, I must say, Aiko, my dear, that you are a superb tactician." Dogen pressed the intercom button and leaned forward towards the arm of his seat. "How long will it take you to switch to Flight Plan 5? Can we do that from the air?" "We can get started immediately, sir." The engine immediately began to rev, accompanied by the sound of the entry hatch closing. "ETA?" 4 hours and 35 minutes. "Excellent. Go." The muffled sound of the hatch being secured rolled down the soft carpet towards the back of the plane.
"You knew, didn't you? Damn you, Uncle. But plan number 5, you might have gotten closer than that."
"It was an option for sure."
2 questions, please. What were numbers 1 through 4, and how many options were there beyond 5?
"No matter. Each of them was a guess."
No, really, tell me, please."
"You really want to know? Really?" Dogen let loose with a brief bark of a laugh.
"Yes, Uncle, I do want to know. We do have more than 4 hours to sit here and chat. Why not?" "Gentle with little Aiko, though,"
said Ami, rubbing his arm with quick brushing strokes up and down.
"You wouldn't want to hurt her feelings."
A few minutes of relaxed silence opened between them as the plane taxied towards the runway. A tall, casually dressed woman appeared from behind them. "Please fasten your seat belts," she said softly, smiled at Aiko, and then looked around to all three. "Is there anything you need?"
"Nothing, Nicky."
said Ami, sotto voce.
"Thank you."
"Thank you for coming," added Dogen. Once again the woman smiled and turned to return to the back of the cabin. Aiko leaned towards Ami and whispered,
"That's Nicky? I don't recognize her. She's your hostess? So beneath her."
"Oh, she's no hostess, Aiko," said Dogen. "She came here all on her own, no more than a half-hour ago, unannounced. Chased our 2 assistants off the plane. Said she could handle everything herself. Of course, there were no arguments. None from me, of course, and certainly none from my assistant, or your aunt's assistant. Nicky is, you know, also a licensed captain." He turned to look over his shoulder towards the back of the plane. "She's as quiet as ever, isn't she? Ever so dynamic. She wasn't going to miss this for anything. No one better."
She...
Aiko paused to consider what she was going to say next.
"She thinks very highly of you, Aiko,"
said Ami. "Never doubted you would come through with the clarity, she called it."
"Clarity?"
Aiko looked out the window as the plane turned to enter the runway. "Plans in place, sir," came the captain over the intercom. "Glacial Lake International. ETA, a little after noon. Weather is clear all the way. One moment, sir. Yes. Yes. Okay. Nicky has a car in place for arrival."
"Clarity,"
repeated Aiko. It was a statement now.
"Yes, very much so."
Amy's hands came together as she pulled them towards her chest to hug them joyously. Looking across to her niece, she glowed with family pride.
"You are so much like your mother."
Her glow dimmed for a moment to add cautiously,
"I hope you don't mind me saying so."
Aiko took on a kindly smile.
"You forget, Ami, that no matter how I look at it, you are doubly my aunt, my uncle's wife, and my mother's sister. No one could be more fortunate than me."
She reached across and took her aunt's hand in hers. The hours moved forward and each of them continued to talk, and they dozed and woke again, dozed and woke again. Halfway through the flight, when both her aunt and uncle were napping, Aiko walked to the back of the plane and took Nicky's hand in hers.
"Nicky, sister, you don't belong back here. And you don't belong back here by yourself. Come, be with the family."
And she nudged Nicky forward towards the front of the plane and into the seat beside Ami. Aiko took Nicky's face in her hands and kissed her on the forehead. She whispered gently to Nicky,
"Don't you ever leave us again. We need you here with us."
When Dogen and Amy awoke, they looked a little older. They smiled upon seeing Nicky sitting with them, and the conversation turned warm with reminiscences. Ami reached her arm around Nicky and drew her close. Nicky reached down to the wide dividing arm between them and raised it upward so she could sit closer to her mother. As they disembarked, walking down the airplane stairs, Aiko looked over her shoulder, back at the plane, as if to say goodbye to a month, no, years of confusion and pain. Painted along the side of the plane, its long, elegant stem stretching the full length of the sleek white ship to blossom in broad beauty up across the expansive upright tail-fin, was a blue tulip. Aiko slid her arm into the arm of her uncle and walked for a while with him, arm in arm.
"Is there ever a time you don't know what's going on? A time when you are not in control?"
"Not any more, my dear. From now on, it's you who are in complete control. There is not a person or thing to stand in your way."
"Not even atomic bombs?"
Dogen remained uncharacteristically quiet. Here in his silence she understood what she herself already knew, the answer to that and any series of false burgeoning questions. While she might not know details or outcomes, there was little doubt that she would handle all of the details perfectly. She approached the long black car. Like a moment it looked like a funeral hearse. Absent-mindedly she listened to her uncle, aunt, and Nicky climb into the back seat, while she peered over the vehicle's roof. With a squint she could see the distant mountains towards the southwest. Over the hood she spoke quietly to herself.
Elizabeth, I love you. Even though I will never see you again and I will miss you with terrific pain, I will move forward. It is you I am, and at the same time, I am only myself. I have never been anything else. Thank you for being my sister, even for so short a time. Life is so precious, isn't it? I am so very sad, and yet so very happy as well. I could never have come this far without you. I can still hear you talking to me, still hear your wishes and dreams, your deep despair. Right now, for this very moment, like you were, I am so lonely. Yet, at the same time, I feel full. Funny, isn't it, sister? Can you hear me? There's no doubt in this. I am so very, very proud of you.
End of chapter 19.